My brother told our parents I'd gone crazy. Mom called the police immediately, saying I was dangerous to the family. When the officers showed up at our door, I just smiled and said, "Come on in, I've got something you need to see." You won't believe what happened next. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button right now if you've ever had to stand up to toxic family members. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. This story gets wild, and you don't want to miss what happens when those cops see the evidence. My name is Alexis Monroe. I'm 25 years old, and I'm a digital artist living in Palm Springs, California. I create NFT collections, those digital art pieces that sell for thousands of dollars in the crypto space. It's not traditional art, and a lot of people don't understand it, but it pays my bills. Actually, it pays more than bills. I was grinding away in my locked bedroom office at our family home, trying to meet a $4,000 drop deadline at noon. Every line of code, every glowing pixel, had to be perfect. That's when the headache started. That familiar drilling pain behind my eyes. I downed 2 painkillers and kept working. Then came the furious pounding on my door. 10:15 on a Tuesday morning. "Alexis, open this door right now," my brother Cameron screamed. "I need $200 and you to drive me to my interview." "Move it." I tapped the app on my phone. The smart lock engaged with a solid click. Through the security camera feed, I could see his face. Red, twisted, furious. "Your pixel junk is trash," he yelled through the door. "You hide in here playing artist while the rest of us scrape by. Open up before I break it down." From the room next door, my grandmother, Sophie's voice cut through. "Don't let him bully you, dear. Hold that line." Cameron rammed his shoulder into the door frame. The wood shook. "You'll pay for this, Alexis," he snarled. "I swear you will." I kept working, fingers flying over the keyboard. His footsteps eventually stormed away down the hall, heavy and furious. I exhaled, but my hands were trembling. The NFT drop was still on track, barely. $4,000 hung in the balance, and Cameron's tantrum had almost derailed everything. I pulled up my security system on the second monitor. 2 camera feeds glowed. One inside my room, one in the hallway. Cameron's red face filled the hallway frame, fists pounding my door just moments ago. I hit record on both cameras. Then I saved the files to 3 different cloud storage accounts. You learn to document everything when you live with someone like Cameron. Let me tell you about my brother. Cameron Monroe is 28 years old, 3 years older than me, and he's been unemployed for the last 18 months. He lives at home with our parents, rent-free, contributing absolutely nothing. He spends his days gaming, his nights partying, and his every waking moment demanding money from whoever will give it to him. Mostly me. See, I made the mistake of lending him money when I first started making decent income from my art. 200 here, 500 there. Always with promises to pay me back. He never did. Not once. I finally cut him off 6 months ago, and he's been making my life hell ever since. Our parents, Richard and Jennifer Monroe, they enable him constantly. Mom makes excuses. He's going through a tough time, she says. He just needs to find himself. Dad pretends not to notice, burying himself in work and avoiding conflict. The only person in this house who sees Cameron clearly is Grandma Sophie. She's 78, sharp as a knife, and she moved in with us 2 years ago after Grandpa died. She doesn't tolerate Cameron's nonsense for a second. That afternoon, I finally finished the NFT collection. $4,000 worth of digital art, ready to drop at noon the next day. I leaned back in my chair, exhausted but satisfied. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Riley. "Drop tomorrow still on track?" "Yeah," I replied, "unless Cameron burns the house down." Riley knew all about my brother's situation. She'd been my rock through everything, the voice of reason when I wanted to give up. "Lock your door," she texted back. "Save everything. Document the crazy." "I already am," I assured her. That night around 2 in the morning, I woke up to banging on my door again. "Alexis," Cameron slurred. He was drunk. "I need a ride home. Lift me car, Jakes. Come on." I checked the security feed. He was swaying in the hallway, barely able to stand. "Call an Uber," I said through the door. "I'm not your chauffeur." The banging got louder. "You selfish witch," he screamed. "I'm your brother. Family helps family. Family doesn't expect free rides at 2 a.m. when they chose to get drunk," I shot back. That's when things escalated. Cameron started kicking the door. Hard. The frame was shaking. I grabbed my phone and called out, "I'm calling the police if you don't stop." "Go ahead," he yelled. "Tell them your brother needs help and you won't open your door. See who they believe." I didn't call the police. Not then. But I recorded everything. Video, audio, timestamps. 30 minutes of Cameron screaming threats, kicking my door, calling me every name he could think of. Eventually, he passed out in the hallway. I could see him on the camera feed, slumped against the wall. I didn't open my door. I let him sleep it off right there on the floor. The next morning, Mom knocked gently. "Alexis, honey," she said softly. "Can we talk?" I opened the door. Mom stood there looking exhausted, Cameron behind her looking sheepish. "Your brother wants to apologize," she said. I looked at Cameron. He mumbled something that might have been sorry. "I need you to understand," I said clearly. "I'm working. This is my job. These interruptions cost me money." Cameron rolled his eyes. "It's not a real job," he muttered. Mom gave him a sharp look, but didn't correct him. "Can you just help him out today?" she asked. "He has that interview." "No," I said. "I have a drop at noon worth $4,000. I'm not leaving my computer." Mom's face fell. "Families should help each other," she said quietly. "I help by paying rent," I replied. $300 a month. "What does Cameron pay?" She didn't answer. They both left. I locked my door again and got back to work. The NFT drop went live at noon. I watched the sales roll in, heart pounding. 1 sold. 2, 5, 10. Within an hour, I'd sold 20 pieces at $200 each. $4,000. I'd done it. I leaned back in my chair, relief flooding through me. My phone exploded with notifications. Buyers leaving comments, other artists congratulating me, Riley sending celebration emojis. Then I saw it. A notification from my Twitter account. A post I didn't write. "My sister Alexis is a fraud," it read. "She's hoarding family money while we struggle. Expose Alexis Monroe, NFT scam artist." My stomach dropped. Someone had hacked my account. I knew immediately who it was. I pulled up my security camera feed. Cameron's door was cracked open, light spilling out. His silhouette hunched over a desk, fingers flying on a keyboard. He was hacking me from the next room. I grabbed my phone and called Riley. She answered immediately. "V, what's wrong?" she said, using my nickname. "He hacked my Twitter," I whispered. "Posted lies. He's trying to kill my reputation." Silence, then the sound of keys clicking on her end. "Riley works in cybersecurity, and she's brilliant. Logging in now," she said. "Give me 2 minutes." I watched my notifications explode. People were retweeting Cameron's lies, commenting, questioning my legitimacy. My NFT marketplace dashboard flashed red. Drop cancelled. Refunds initiated. $4,000 gone. Mom gave him a sharp look, but didn't correct him. "Can you just help him out today?" she asked. "He has that interview." "No," I said. "I have a drop at noon worth $4,000. I'm not leaving my computer." Mom's face fell. "Families should help each other," she said quietly. "I help by paying rent," I replied. $300 a month. "What does Cameron pay?" She didn't answer. They both left. I locked my door again and got back to work. The NFT drop went live at noon. Within an hour, Riley had locked down my account. The fake tweets were deleted. But the damage was done. $4,000 gone. Buyers had bailed, spooked by the drama. I sat in the dark, staring at my computer screen, feeling utterly defeated. A soft knock on my door. Grandma Sophie. I let her in. She took one look at my face and knew. "What did he do?" she asked. I showed her everything. The hack, the tweets, the cancelled sales. She read it all, her lips pressing into a thin line. "He's digging his own grave," she said finally. "Document everything. Every single thing. You're going to need it." I didn't understand what she meant then, but I would. The next day, I woke up to my mother screaming. She burst into my room without knocking, her face red and tear-streaked. "How could you?" she shouted. "Your brother is trying to get his life together and you're sabotaging him." "What are you talking about?" I said, genuinely confused. Dad appeared behind her. His face was stern. "The police report," he said. "You filed a report against Cameron?" I hadn't filed anything. I pulled up my email. There it was. An automated confirmation from the local police department. Someone had filed a report about harassment and cybercrimes, using my name and information. But I hadn't done it. Riley had. She'd taken all the evidence I'd gathered and filed an official report on my behalf. I called her immediately. "You filed a police report?" I said when she answered. "Damn right I did," she replied. He committed multiple crimes, Alexis. Hacking, harassment, fraud. You think he's just going to stop? My parents were still in my doorway, waiting for an explanation. Cameron hacked my accounts, I said slowly. He cost me $4,000. He's been harassing me for months. This is documentation. Your brother made a mistake, Mom said. He was upset. He destroyed my income, I corrected. That's not a mistake, that's sabotage. Dad crossed his arms. Family handles things privately, he said. Not with police reports. Then maybe Cameron should have thought of that before committing crimes, I shot back. The argument went in circles for an hour. Them defending Cameron, me refusing to back down. Finally, they left. I locked my door and called Riley back. They're furious, I told her. Good, she said. Let them be furious. You've got evidence, you've got a paper trail, and now you've got official documentation. Cameron's not going to stop unless he faces real consequences. She was right. But I didn't know how right until later that night. I was working, trying to rebuild what Cameron had destroyed, when I heard shouting downstairs. Cameron's voice, loud and aggressive. Mom crying, Dad trying to mediate. Then silence, followed by the sound of police sirens. I checked the security cameras. 2 police cruisers in our driveway. 4 officers at the front door. My heart started racing. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. Heavy, official footsteps. A knock on my door. Alexis Monroe, a male voice called. This is the Palm Springs Police Department. I opened the door. 2 officers stood there, both looking professional and serious. Behind them, I could see Cameron being held by another officer, his face red with rage. Ma'am, one officer said, we received a call that you were dangerous and threatening family members. We need to ask you some questions. My mother had called the police on me. She told them I was the dangerous one. I looked past the officers at Cameron, who was smirking now. Come on in, I said calmly. I've got something you need to see. I led them into my room. My computer set up, my security monitors, everything laid out. I pulled up the footage from the past week. Cameron pounding on my door at 2 a.m. Cameron kicking the door frame. Cameron screaming threats. All time-stamped, all saved to the cloud, all undeniable. Then I showed them the hack. The IP logs, the timeline, the fake tweets. The officers watched in silence. One of them took notes. The other asked questions. How long has this been going on? 6 months of escalating harassment, I replied. Has he ever threatened violence? Multiple times, I said, pulling up more footage. Did you file the police report? My friend filed it on my behalf using evidence I gathered, I explained. Everything here is documented. The officer nodded slowly. Then he turned to his partner. We need to talk to the family, he said. They went downstairs. I followed. Cameron was now sitting on the couch, Mom beside him holding his hand. Dad stood by the fireplace, looking uncomfortable. Grandma Sophie sat in her chair, watching everything with sharp eyes. The officer addressed my parents. Ma'am, sir, he said. We've reviewed evidence that shows your son Cameron has been harassing his sister for months. There's also evidence of cybercrimes including hacking and defamation. Mom gasped. That's not possible, she said. Alexis is making this up. The officer shook his head. We've seen the security footage, the IP logs, everything. This is well documented. We need to speak with Cameron. Cameron's smirk had vanished. He looked pale now, scared. The officers took him outside to talk privately. I stood in the living room with my parents. Mom was crying. Dad looked stunned. How could you do this to your brother? Mom sobbed. I didn't do anything to him, I said quietly. He did this to himself. Grandma Sophie spoke up. She's been documenting his abuse for months, she said firmly. While you two made excuses and enabled him. This is the consequence of your failure to parent. Dad flinched. Mom just cried harder. The officers came back inside. Mr. and Mrs. Monroe, one said. Your son has admitted to accessing his sister's accounts without permission. That's a crime. We're not arresting him tonight, but he needs to understand the seriousness of this situation. Cameron was brought back in, looking terrified now. The officer continued. If there are any more incidents of harassment or cybercrimes, charges will be filed immediately. Do you understand? Cameron nodded, not meeting anyone's eyes. The officers left. The house fell silent. Nobody knew what to say. Finally, Dad spoke. Cameron, pack a bag, he said. You're staying at your friend's place for a while. What? Cameron's head shot up. You heard me, Dad said. You need to figure yourself out, and you can't do that here. But Mom started. No, Iris, Dad cut her off. This has gone too far. He hacked her accounts, he cost her thousands of dollars, and he's been terrorizing her in her own home. It stops now. I stood there, barely breathing, afraid to believe what I was hearing. Cameron looked at Mom for help. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For once, she had nothing to say. Cameron grabbed his jacket and stormed out. The front door slammed behind him. Mom went upstairs without a word. Dad looked at me. I'm sorry, he said simply. We should have stopped this months ago. Then he followed Mom upstairs. Grandma Sophie smiled at me. Well done, dear, she said. Standing up for yourself is never easy. But it's always necessary. I went back to my room and locked the door. Then I sat down and cried. Not from sadness, but from relief. From the weight finally lifting. The next week was tense. Cameron stayed away, crashing with friends. Mom barely spoke to me. Dad tried to act normal, but the strain showed. Only Grandma Sophie remained constant, bringing me tea, checking on my work, reminding me I'd done the right thing. Riley helped me rebuild. We relaunched the NFT collection with a statement about the hack. The community rallied. Buyers came back, new buyers showed up, and the sales exceeded my wildest expectations. $20,000 in primary sales alone. But more than the money, I had something else. Peace. My door stayed locked, but Cameron wasn't pounding on it anymore. My accounts stayed secure. My work continued uninterrupted. A month later, Mom knocked on my door. I opened it cautiously. She looked smaller somehow, tired. Can we talk? She asked. I let her in. We sat on my bed, not touching. I've been thinking, she said slowly, about what Grandma said. About enabling Cameron. I waited. You were right, she continued, her voice breaking. We failed you. We let him get away with everything because it was easier than dealing with him. And we made you suffer for it. The apology hung in the air between us. I appreciate that, I said finally. But words aren't enough. I know, she whispered. What do you need from us? Boundaries, I said. Real ones. Cameron doesn't get to come back here unless he's working and contributing. No more excuses. No more enabling. She nodded slowly. And if he breaks those boundaries? Then he's out, I said firmly. Permanently. Mom left without arguing. 2 weeks later, Dad sat Cameron down. I wasn't there, but Grandma Sophie told me about it later. Dad gave Cameron an ultimatum. Find a job within 30 days or find somewhere else to live. No more free ride. Cameron tried to argue, tried to get Mom to intervene, but for once, they held firm. The 30 days came and went. Cameron found a job as a valet at a hotel. Red vest, parking cars, working for tips. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. He moved into a cramped apartment with 2 coworkers. Microwave dinners and shift work. No more gaming setups. No more party lifestyle. Reality hit him hard. Meanwhile, my career took off. Collaborations with other artists. Interviews about the NFT space. A verified checkmark on Twitter. Revenue hit 6 figures. I moved out 6 months later. A downtown condo with floor-to-ceiling windows and no shared walls. My own space, my own rules, my own peace. Grandma Sophie visited weekly, bringing homemade pie. Mom and Dad sent letters asking me to come home for dinner. I read the first one twice, then tore it into pieces and let the wind scatter them. Phones blocked. Addresses changed. Some bridges, once burned, stayed burned. Cameron's social media showed forced smiles in his valet uniform. No more luxury, no more entitlement. Just the consequences of his choices. I donated my old security system to a women's shelter. Those cameras had saved me, and maybe they'd save someone else. Riley came over to help me unpack the new place. 20 grand, she said, looking at my latest sales figures. You're a brand now. Feels surreal, I admitted. But good. Really good. I hung my first framed NFT on the wall. The one that started everything. The $4,000 collection that Cameron tried to destroy. It felt like a trophy. Not of revenge, but of survival. Of standing up when everyone told me to back down. Of enforcing boundaries when family said boundaries were selfish. Of choosing myself when everyone else chose Cameron. That's the lesson I learned through all of this. Family isn't about blood. It's not about who you're born to or who you grow up with. Real family is about respect. About support. About showing up when things get hard instead of making excuses. Cameron was my brother by blood, but he stopped being family the moment he chose to tear me down instead of lift me up. Mom and Dad enabled him until the consequences became unavoidable. They made their choice. I made mine. And Grandma Sophie, Riley, the community I built online, they became my real family. The ones who celebrated my wins. The ones who helped me through the losses. The ones who stood by me when standing by me was the hard choice. Some people might say I was too harsh. That family should forgive family. That I should have given Cameron another chance. Those people don't understand what it's like to have your livelihood threatened. Your peace destroyed. Your mental health shattered. All while the people who are supposed to protect you make excuses for your abuser. I gave Cameron chances. Dozens of them. Every time I lent him money with no expectation of repayment. Every time I ignored his insults. Every time I opened my door when he demanded something. He burned through every chance, then blamed me when consequences finally arrived. So no, I don't feel guilty. I don't regret the police report or the boundaries or cutting contact. I regret not doing it sooner. I regret every day I spent trying to keep the peace instead of protecting myself. I regret prioritizing their feelings over my own well-being. But I don't regret standing up for myself when I finally found the courage. That courage saved me. It saved my career, my mental health, my future. And if my story can help even one person find their own courage, then sharing it was worth it. If you're in a situation like I was, with family members who take advantage, who tear you down, who refuse to respect your boundaries, hear this. You are not selfish for protecting yourself. You are not cruel for enforcing consequences. You are not wrong for choosing your own peace over their comfort. Family that hurts you isn't family. Blood doesn't excuse abuse. And you owe nothing to people who refuse to treat you with basic respect. Document everything. Build your evidence. Find your support system. And when the time comes to stand up for yourself, stand firm. The people who truly love you will understand. The people who don't understand never loved you the way you deserved. Let them go. Cameron reached out once, about a year after I moved out. A long text message apologizing for everything. Saying he'd been selfish and entitled. That he understood now. That he hoped we could reconnect. I read it 3 times. Looking for manipulation, hidden agendas, signs that he was still the same person. But all I found was genuine remorse. I didn't respond. Not because I was holding a grudge, but because I'd moved on. I'd built a life without him, a good life, and reopening that door felt like inviting chaos back in. Maybe someday I'll feel differently. Maybe someday enough time will pass that I can risk letting him back into my life. But not today. Today, I'm protecting the peace I fought so hard to build. And there's no shame in that. My new condo overlooks the city. Every morning I wake up to sunlight streaming through those floor-to-ceiling windows. I make coffee, I sit at my desk, and I create. No interruptions. No demands. No guilt trips. Just me, my art, and the community I've built. Last month I hit $1 million in total sales. $1 million from digital art that Cameron called pixel junk. From work he said wasn't a real job. I didn't send him a screenshot or rub it in his face. I just smiled, posted a thank you to my community, and kept working. Because the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well. It's building something beautiful from the ashes of what they tried to destroy. It's proving to yourself that you were right to walk away. Grandma Sophie calls every Sunday. We talk about art, about life, about the family drama she's still navigating without me. They ask about you, she said last week. Let them, I replied. She laughed. That's my girl, she said. Boundaries intact. Peace restored. Riley and I grab dinner once a week. She's still in cybersecurity, still brilliant, still the friend who filed that police report when I was too scared to do it myself. I owe you everything, I told her once. You don't owe me anything, she replied. You did the hard part. I just helped with the paperwork. But she was wrong. I do owe her. I owe her my gratitude, my loyalty, my friendship. The kind of debt that's paid through years of showing up, of being there, of choosing each other. That's what real family looks like. So, here's where I am now, 2 years after that night when the police showed up at my door. 27 years old. 6-figure income from my art. My own place, my own rules, my own peace. No contact with Cameron. Minimal contact with my parents. Weekly calls with Grandma Sophie. Daily texts with Riley. A thriving online community. A career I built from nothing. And most importantly, boundaries that I enforce without guilt. Because I learned the hard way that boundaries aren't mean. They're not selfish. They're not cruel. They're necessary. They're the difference between surviving and thriving. between being a victim and being free, between letting others define your worth and defining it yourself. Cameron is still working as a valet. According to Grandma Sophie, he's doing okay. Paying his bills, staying out of trouble, growing up slowly. I'm glad he's getting his life together. Truly. But his journey is separate from mine now. And that's how it needs to be. I don't wish him harm. I just wish him far away from me. Mom and Dad still don't fully understand. They think I'm holding a grudge, that I'm being stubborn, that family should always reconcile. They don't get that some things can't be fixed with apologies and dinner invitations. Some damage runs too deep. Some trust, once broken, can't be rebuilt. And some people, no matter how much you love them, are toxic to your well-being. Choosing to walk away from them isn't failure. It's survival. So, if you're listening to this and you're struggling with a similar situation, remember this. You deserve peace. You deserve respect. You deserve to live without fear in your own home. And if the people around you can't give you those things, you have every right to walk away. Even if it's family. Especially if it's family. Because family should be your safe place, not your battlefield. Hit that subscribe button if this story resonated with you. Give it a thumbs up if you've ever had to set hard boundaries with family. And share it with anyone who needs to hear that it's okay to choose yourself. This is Alexis Monroe, signing off. Remember, boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. You get to decide who comes through. And there's nothing selfish about that. Thanks for listening.